Andy Tourell is the event director of the Extreme Sailing Series Act 8 here in Sydney. So welcome back, Andy, after 7 years.
Thanks, Geoff. Yeah, a friendship that's nice to reignite.
Mate, the last time you were here, you did the Hobart race on Hugo Boss, and I remember you guys all sort of wore white, very fancy suits at the start. Now, a two-part question. A, do you still have the suit? And B, can I have a loan of it because I've got a wedding to go in February?
I do still have the suit, actually, and I wore it last week at the OC Sport Christmas seminar. So that was the first time it's been out of the closet for a few years, but it was nice to bring it out, some fond memories. So of course you can borrow it.
Thank you very much, mate. I look forward to it. Now, your present gig here is with the Extreme Sailing Series running the event.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a bad day for you because it was a little bit breezy for the boats. Can you give us a little bit of background of what actually happened?
Yeah, obviously it's disappointing. We're very proud of the fact that we've only lost 3 days of sailing in 8 years of the history of the event. But yesterday afternoon we had one of the southerly busters that this area is famous for come through the city, and we were seeing a solid 30 to 35 knots of breeze, which we've raced in before. But the difficulty came from it coming across the city. And in some of the squalls and with some of the gusts that come whipping around the buildings, we were getting gusts of 40 to 45 knots of breeze. And obviously, we're not going to put the boats out in such conditions. And we monitored it. We put on a postponement to see if it would come down in time. But the breeze was just consistently above 35 knots. So unfortunately, we had to can the racing yesterday. But we've got a great day today. We've got 20 to 25 knots of breeze. There'll be some big gusts in there, so it's still going to be full on today, but we expect to get 8 to 10 races through this afternoon.
And how many teams, Andy?
Got 10 boats here racing in Sydney this weekend. Grand finale of the 2014 circuit. Alinghi currently in the lead of the championship, but it's still all up for grabs. With the Wave Muscat still mathematically capable of taking the championship away from Morgan. And then 4 boats competing for the podium, so it's all on over the next 3 days.
What about local teams?
Local team, GAC Pindar are sporting flying the Australian flag with Nathan Wilmot at the helm, and then we've got Tom Slingsby's come into Oman Air to skip Oman Air for this final act. So a lot of local presence, which is fantastic to get the drive of the media and also for the public to get behind.
So what's the year been like, Andy?
It's been a huge year for us, to be honest. We're in Chapter 3 of the Extreme Sailing Series now. So the Chapter 1 was the birth and the building of it. Chapter 2 was going global. And then Chapter 3 kind of commenced with Land Rover coming on as series main partner in 2013. So in 2014 we've hit 2 new fantastic venues in St Petersburg and Sydney, whilst going back to the venues that we've built up over the last few years. Sydney, obviously, as an iconic venue, is right up there. Being the Southern Hemisphere, is one of the sailing capitals of the Southern Hemisphere, so it's great from the sporting integrity and the sporting perspective. Of course, the build-up to the Hobart, and then the backdrop of the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House is second to none. We've had the strongest fleet lineup, 11 boats, which, to be honest, has brought its own challenges by having that many boats this year. But of course, having the calibre of sailors on, it's been the strongest lineup in the 8-year history. So we just continue to go from strength to strength at the moment.
And is the Sydney visit a one-off thing?
No, so we've got a three-year contract. We'll obviously have to go through a review process, which starts on Monday. Well, to be honest, it's starting already. But we've got various meetings on Monday before we pack up and move on. But the intention is to be here currently for 3 years, and it's not to say that we won't come back after that. It's all about growing the relationship, learning from the first year is always an education for both sides and all the stakeholders. So next year we'll come back and the event will be bigger and better.
Well, you guys have certainly pioneered the multi-hull racing thing, and of course the America's Cup has gone on to the 45s. Now we've seen Phantom sailing, and we've seen the GC32s, the M32s. What's your feeling about all those other boats?
I think it's great, and I think it's really important for the world of sailing, for the multi-hull world to keep developing. The AC45s, a lot of people have always asked us whether there's a conflict there, but quite the opposite. That we've been through two full cycles of the America's Cup teams. They came to us in 2011, and then they went to focus on the 34th Cup. They've come to us again this year, and they will go. They'll go and focus back on the on the cup again next year. But it's not a problem for us at all. We've got a very solid base in the teams that come back year on year that have got the long-term strategy with the event. 45 is is fundamental to the world of sailing to keep that rolling, to cooperate and to work alongside each other. And with the new classes coming in, as you say, you've got the Phantoms, you've got the Nacras that are starting to go foiling, the 17s and the 20s, GC32s, M32s, SL33s. The strength of the multi-hull world is just escalating every year at the moment.
Looking forward, are you looking at wing sails and foiling?
No, I don't think so. Not at the moment for the wing sails. What we've got is a commercially based event, and the world is obviously going foiling at the moment. But it doesn't mean that that's going to be right for us. Our series is very specific. We have our core concepts that we won't compromise. So sporting integrity is number one. And then the stadium concept, which, as you said, we pioneered. Other events have emulated, but not to the same level. We bring the boats to the public into sailing areas that other classes aren't capable of getting to. And foiling, it would actually compromise that stadium concept. So it doesn't work as it exists right now. Doesn't mean that there isn't even an evolution to be done there. As with any mechanical sport, you've got to keep up with the technology, you've got to keep up with the times. So it's always something that we're continually evaluating and have been, and we talk to the sailors, we talk to all of the various stakeholders to ensure that the tool is right for the circuit. 100% Extreme 40s right now, tick that box. As I said, we will have an evolution at some point, whether that's a modification of our current boat, whether it's an evolution to an existing class, but the class isn't there right now. None of the boats that are there are right for us at the moment. Or whether it's a new boat, a new design. So we've got a tender process open for proposals to come to us to design a new tool for the Extreme Sailing Series. But there's no intention to change within the next year or 2 years. It's going to be a gradual evolution, and it's not something that we're going to jump to foiling because the world is going foiling. Because, as I say, the most important thing is that we're true to who we are, and our DNA is the stadium concept.
What about the event itself, though, Andy? Is the logistics, that's a big thing for you? You look after all that?
Yeah, so it's 26 containers now that go around the world, and we've got 8 events, and we'll have 8 events again next year. The series will be announced in middle of January. So we've got all of the building blocks are in place with the venues and the teams. So all the confirmations that we need are there, and the announcement will go, as I say, middle of January. In terms of there's 5 criteria that we use to select a venue. So the wind conditions to ensure to make sure that we're going to have the sailing. We need the stadium, as I say. It needs to be an iconic venue. Sydney, is the top of the list in terms of an iconic venue. It needs to be commercially viable. So that means in terms of the key markets for our partners, but also financially viable as well. So all of those things get wrapped up into the jigsaw that is putting the circuit together, and then alongside that you've then got to hook in the shipping schedules as well. So it's quite a complicated puzzle to create. But that's, as I say, that's all in place now. Next year will be 8 venues again. We go to 9 venues potentially if it worked shipping wise and if it worked commercially. You could possibly see an evolution to that in 2016, 2017 potentially, but currently it will be 8 events. And also in terms of the teams, we'll be returning to our optimum number, which is 8 or 9 full season entries. As I say, we've consciously taken on more teams this year and accepted the challenges that has brought. And next year the expectation is for 8 or 9.
Excellent. Now, what's your prediction for who's going to win this year?
Geoff, I'll tell you what, it's the writing is on the wall for sure, but all it takes is one incident, and if a Lingy got damaged today and they lose some races, all of a sudden it's wide open. So I couldn't possibly say who I would like to win because, of course, I'm completely impartial. But the conditions today are going to be such that the guys are going to be pushing for the results, but also ensuring that they're not going to take themselves out or take anyone else out to lose any races. Because we all know what happens in sailing, don't we, Geoff? It's not over until you cross that last finish line.
All right. Well, thank you, Andy.
No worries, Geoff.
Thanks,
It's a
mate.
pleasure.
All the best.